Alrighty, let's start today off with Euro AUD. Now, mind you, today we do have somewhat of a high and medium impact news on USD pairs later in the evening or in the US session. So just something to be careful of if you are planning to trade pairs that include or is crossed with USD pairs. Okay, so starting off Euro AUD, I have my sell zone, which is a fresh engulfing buy that failed, and my buy zone, which is a fresh engulfing sell that failed. Current price is in the middle of the two, so what can Euro AUD do? Euro AUD. If it decides to come into either of our zones and respects it, meaning H4 does not close above our sell zone or below our buy zone, then there's potential for us to grab a sell or a buy from our key levels. Okay, but if H4 decides to break above or below our zones, then potentially it might want to test a higher area. So what we can do is wait for the next potential zone, or we wait for the price to retrace back into our key levels to look for the opposite direction of a setup. Okay, so what do? You monitor M5 or M15 because our zones are from H4. Okay, so start with M15 first. If you cannot find any setups in M15, then you can go down in M5 to find a setup to be more precise to. All right, next pair, USD JPY. Okay, USD JPY is currently in our zone, and I have a buy and sell up top just in case it breaks above and just in case it respects and drops down. Okay, the current zone is an engulfing buy that failed, and in the process of failing created this engulfing sell, and now price also created this engulfing sell, but it was not an engulfing sell that closed below. Okay, it happened in the zone, so I'm not going to take this as my second engulfing sell, right? But we take note that it created an engulfing sell, so we see an attempt of the sellers to push the price down even further. Okay, so now that the price is testing our zone, what do? If you're a low risk trader, you wait for the H4 to close first, right? But if you can deal with high risk appetite trades, then you go down to M15. I'll show you the zone that I'll be monitoring for a potential sell, right? By the key level, I'm gonna take this over here. Now, why am I taking this? This is an engulfing buy that was respected multiple times, and it failed over here. But in the process of failing, created this engulfing sell within the zone, so we have an EFEG sell. So what do I want now? I want the price or this M15 to close within, then create an engulfing sell for me to consider pressing sell. Okay, that's something to monitor, because if it doesn't and it decides to break above, then I know the sellers over here are killed, right? They're overpowered. I'm not going to take this, and I'll wait for a new fresh setup. Okay, let's zoom out a little. Now see what UJ can do in a macro perspective. Okay, UJ can either break above our zone or respect and drop, right? But either way, if it does break above, we can wait for our sell up here, or we wait for the price to retrace back into our key level for a buy back up. Okay, but if it decides to respect the zone, we can either catch a sell from here, or we wait for a buy from our lower buy zone. Okay, SLs again, please, if you do not know where to exit, or you do not know where to cut your losses, or you do not have time to monitor the charts, please set your SLs, okay? Because some of you have accidentally washed your account multiple times just by not setting SL and leaving it either for a few hours or past the night. Okay, so something to be aware of. So set your SL at 40 pips from entry. This is something that I usually recommend. 40 pips is not too tight nor too loose, so it's a good amount of pips. Okay, last but not least, EG. Okay, EG is currently in our sell zone. It's an engulfing buy that failed. Again, before failing, created this engulfing sell. Now price is testing. Because the zone is so big, we have two key levels for EG. Okay, we have two key levels. If it does not drop from our lower key level, then we have a higher key level that it can test. Okay, but we still have to see where H4 goes, because if H4 closes above, this key level becomes invalid for a sell, and we wait for a buy instead when it retraces back to test. Okay, so e.g., ooh, it's raining. If it decides to respect our sell zone, meaning H4 does not close above breaking our sell, then potentially we can look for a sell in either of the key levels. Okay, if it's not happening in the lower one, then we look for the higher one. Okay, but wait for the setup to complete first, right? If H4 breaks above, if H4 breaks above, then potentially you might want to test a higher zone. Vice versa, if it drops into our buy zone, you can look for a buy, but if it breaks down low, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, so that's it for all the pairs. Please trade smart, trade wise, and don't rush into the market. All right, there's so many opportunities. I will talk to you soon. We'll